Time to get inspired and improve your yoga knowledge in English. You're listening to Your Yoga in English, a podcast for yogis and yoga teachers that speak English as their second or third language and want to practice or teach yoga worldwide. I'm Annie, the founder of Enga Unite, and here to guide you on the way to become the confident and knowledgeable English-speaking yogi you want to be. Yay, you're here! It worked! Finally!
Oh my goodness. Technology.
I know. We were getting nervous, guys. We were trying to go live on Facebook, and then it didn't work. But we're here. We're all here. So exciting. So today we're speaking to Queen. Queen is a yoga teacher. And maybe introduce yourself first before we start speaking about everything that we've got to speak about.
My name is Queen. I am from Houston, Texas, and I am a yoga instructor and educator. So I have a company called Sacred Spaces Yoga. And with my company, I teach a variety of types of yoga. So I teach vinyasa yoga, so hatha yoga, which many people are familiar with. I also teach rocket yoga, which is from the lineage of Ashtanga yoga. And I teach holy yoga, which is a Christian-based yoga. So I do all of those things. I also blog specifically about Black women doing yoga and Black Christian women doing yoga, and starting to offer offerings and workshops regarding Christianity and yoga. So those are a little bit of things that I do.
A little bit of all the things that you do. It's amazing. And I think especially the things that you specialize in will help us a lot today, because today we're speaking about yogic myths. And
Yes.
for anyone that's listening or watching now, before we start, I would like to have a little think. Yesterday, I posted a quiz on Instagram to make you start and reflect the way you think about yoga. So I would like to start with that as well today. Have a little think and see if you answer either yes or no to the following questions. So the first question is, or the first statement, I need to be flexible to practice yoga. Very common one. Then the second one is, I'm too old to start practicing yoga. And it's either yes or no. Then number 3, yoga is too time consuming. Hello, Cynthia. Thank you for joining. We're going through a few questions. See if you can answer yes or no. And number 5, I can't practice yoga when I'm on my period. Then number 6, yoga is too easy or too slow for me. We're already laughing. And a really important one, and one that we're going to focus a lot today. Yoga is religion. Yoga is a religion, and it clashes with my own religion. If you answered yes to any of these questions or any of these statements, it's probably a good idea to keep watching and listening, because we're going to clarify all of these. And the first one, do you need to be flexible before we start, or when we start practicing?
Absolutely not. So first of all, that is, for some people, they come to yoga to be flexible, right? To practice their flexibility. So no, but there are different variations for a lot of the poses. So if you can't fold forward and touch your toes with your legs straight, guess what you can do? Bend your knees. Knees, right? There are so many variations for different poses to help you. And it's not so much how the pose looks. And because we, the world we live in and what we see on social media of what people think that yoga is, we think that it has to look a certain way. And it does.
Exactly.
It's more so about the feeling, and are you getting the same sensations in your body or your muscles or things of that nature in the pose, no matter what the variation is. So absolutely not. You do not have to be flexible to do yoga, and that's not the goal of yoga.
Exactly.
Flexible at all. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
debunked.
And probably exactly, and probably if you're not flexible, if you do, or you do feel tight, or you do feel like you have pains or injuries, it probably is a good reason to practice yoga, because this will help you to overcome or to create that flexibility.
Yeah.
So if you think you need to be flexible or you need to have some special powers before you start, it's not true. Everyone can create them, or at least just get better at it, improve it. All right. Then the next one, I'm too old. I can't
Oh
do it after a certain age.
no. Everybody comes to yoga. There are, and again, we look at social media and we say, I can't do that, right? Even I look at it and I'm like, my body cannot.
Mm-hmm.
And again, there's so many different types of yoga, and we're talking about physical practice, the asanas, right? So there's chair yoga if you can't sit down. There's restorative, where you're pretty much laying down the whole time, right? Yin yoga. There's so many different types of yoga that will cater
Exactly.
to all different types of body types and ages. And yoga is the breath, it is movement, and meditation. So if you
Mm-hmm.
can breathe and you can move, you can do yoga. And there is a different type of yoga for everybody.
Exactly. I couldn't have said it better. This is one of the things that I always like to say. Like, we don't have to do what you see around you or what your teacher does. There's a type and there's a way for everyone. If you're a little bit older, or if you're pregnant, or if you're on your period, or if you have something that's maybe not specifically the same as everyone else has or deals with at the moment, there is something else for you. And there is
Yeah,
no right or wrong way to do it either. You just
yeah.
have
As
to find.
safe, right? As long as you're not hurting yourself. If you're moving,
Exactly.
you're doing yoga. Yoga is an offering. So when you go to classes and the instructor may call out a pose or something that your body does not agree with, don't do it. And that
Mm-hmm.
you're there to listen to your body, right? It's
Exactly.
different offerings and suggestions. You don't have to do what the teacher is telling you or are offering for you to do.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. It's like an exploration. If you can try, and it's good to try new things, but like you said, if it doesn't feel right in your body, don't do it, or find a variation.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Then we have, well, it's too slow or easy for me.
That is hilarious to me. I'm sorry. I
You'll
don't
be
teach classes that are slow.
surprised.
You're gonna sweat. I tell people all the time at the end of the class and even during the class, like you're gonna feel so relaxed and everything, but we're gonna sweat.
Yeah.
Right? So again, there are different types of yoga. There are, power yoga, and the rocket yoga that I teach as well is very powerful. And there
Mm-hmm.
are inversions, and if your body can't do the inversions yet, that's fine. There's different levels to them, but you're going to sweat. Uh, I, and there are the slow classes, but I don't teach them. So,
Exactly. Well, this is the thing. I'm really into yoga, which is pretty slow. Um, and even that can be pretty challenging because you hold
yeah,
the poses for a
hold it.
long time.
Yeah.
So yes,
And
it might be slow,
yoga
but
yoga will have you tapping into muscles that like you didn't know you had. You're like, I didn't even know I could feel that muscle there because you're holding those poses and you're engaging certain muscles that you probably don't engage on a regular basis. So yoga is not easy by
no,
any. And that's physically and mentally. Even the slow classes are challenging mentally, because,
Exactly.
in yoga, we are, attempting to be in the present. So even
Hmm.
if I take a yin or restorative class, though it may be easier physically, mentally, I'm fighting to not think about my grocery list or to not think about these things
Exactly.
on my breath and to stay in the moment. So even if it's not challenging from a physical aspect, it can be challenging from a mental aspect, and you need to train that muscle too, right?
Hmm.
It
Hmm.
definitely you from different sides.
Really, really good points. I like that you brought that up because it's so more than just the physical as what we see. We see the physical on Instagram and Facebook and wherever we look around it is when people speak about yoga. That's what we think mostly. When we're not really into yoga, we don't know too much about it. But it's actually more about what's going on in the mind, what's going on in the body. Where is
Right,
your breath? There's just
right.
so many aspects and so many things to train. So if it's not challenging enough, challenge yourself to find something else, switch your focus instead of just practicing the physical.
Yes, yes. And the asanas, that's just 1/8 of what yoga is, right? When we start talking about going
Hmm.
deeper, understanding the 8 limbs, and like the way you live your life is yoga
Hmm.
as well. And a lot of those things, the yamas and the niyamas, can be very challenging, especially during these times. So yeah, it's so much more yoga than just the physical practice. Um,
Hmm.
the physical practice can be challenging based on the class that you take.
Exactly, exactly. Let's move on to another one. I find breathing patterns dangerous or difficult. What do you
Mm,
think about that?
that is interesting. I don't know if I've ever heard of breathing patterns being dangerous, but I could see how that could be. Difficult, absolutely. So there are different type of breathing techniques we call pranayama. That a teacher may suggest yoga class, and they can definitely be uncomfortable. But I think it's more so because we're not used to it. A lot
Exactly.
breathing from our chest, and we're not used to breathing from our belly. So it's difficult because it's new, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for me, like this morning, I did the square breathing where I inhaled for 4 breaths, held my breath at the top for 4, exhaled for 4, and held my breath at the bottom for 4. That holding my breath at the bottom for 4 is very difficult and uncomfortable for me. But I
Hmm.
had to ask myself why. So a lot of times when you find that something is difficult, instead of saying not good for me, like tap into the why. And that breath at the thing is difficult for me because I have a fear of lack.
Hmm.
So I had to continue to remind myself that your next inhale is coming, right?
Exactly.
So a
Yeah.
lot of these things are, we call them difficult because it's new and we're not used to it and our body is not used to it. But the more
Hmm.
practice them and understand how good they are for our body and our brain and anxiety and all of these things, then we'll understand um, the need for it. And you'll push through that difficult. It does sometimes it doesn't get easier, you just get stronger,
Hmm.
right? So that breath is still very hard for me, but I'm getting strong in reminding myself that your next coming. It's okay, right? Having those affirmations that I'm telling myself in those difficult moments, and that's where you really build strength, right? Is when you're pushing through these moments that are difficult.
Exactly. And I think it also has a lot to do with people not wanting or willing or maybe scared to get out of their comfort zone.
Absolutely, yeah,
Because it's very easy just to do what you're used to. Like you said,
right.
I don't know this, so I'm not going to do it. But it's all
Mhm.
about challenging yourself and willing and being curious, opening yourself up to new things.
That's so good because at first, like the first time you hear some of this stuff, you're like, "What? That's weird," Like you want to say, like you want me to. That's weird, and we're just not willing to do things that we feel are weird or getting outside of our comfort zone or trying new things. That's a good point.
Exactly. Right. Let me see. Then we have I can't do yoga when I'm on my period.
I have heard this from a scientific standpoint. I'm not really familiar
Nice.
of that. I do hear people say like, to avoid inversions or like handstands and stuff. But none of that is really in my practice, so I don't really worry about it. I will say that like your energy level and cramps and things like that is more so how some people like, I'm just not gonna do yoga because like I don't feel good and I'm cramping. And understanding that there are some yoga poses that can help ease that pain,
Hmm.
right? When I'm on my period, I am most times like if I lay down, I'm in butterfly position where the
Yeah.
soles of my together and my knees are out wide, or I have my legs up the wall. Like those are certain yoga poses that help ease the pain of cramps.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I will say that, like, if your energy is low, then maybe you don't do like the vinyasa class or the power class. Maybe you take a yin class or a restorative class, and those type of classes will put you in some poses that will ease the pain of menstrual cramps.
Exactly. That's completely right. It's very personal because everyone is different, everyone has different pains and they suffer in a different way from the period. But I think it's pretty general that people feel low on energy. Maybe they're dealing with mood swings. Um, but there's always a way to practice yoga. And like you said, maybe do a yin practice or a restorative practice. And if you go to the blog that we're posting today, we've given some tips or some poses that are special, well, not especially designed for yoga on your period, but they're really good. And I think butterfly is in there as well. And
Yeah.
actually, there's been one time that I went to a class specifically for women on their period. So
Cool.
if you keep an eye out, maybe you can find it online. And I'm sure if you go to YouTube, there will be a class just for that as well.
Yeah, but
Nowadays, you can find anything.
like be in a physical class, like specifically for women on their periods. I think that would be really interesting.
Uh-huh. It was really interesting. It was not so much that it was only for people that were on the period right then and now, but just so that women know they could go that class and then at the times that they were suffering or they had pains or whatever, they could do those poses or take that practice at home.
That's good.
Really interesting. All right. Then one thing that I can't wait to speak to you about this because it's something that really intrigues us. We've been asking around quite a bit and we have very, very many different opinions and stories or answers to this question or the statement really. So I've heard people saying, I can't practice yoga because I'm religious, and the religion of yoga or the belief system of yoga clashes with mine. Now, you
Yeah.
know everything about this. Tell us, enlighten
Not
us.
everything. I know some things. Yeah, I know some things. So I'm Christian. I have been a Christian my entire life. So I believe in Jesus Christ, right? So
Mhm.
um, I hear it a lot. I hear it a lot where people are even telling me that me practicing yoga like demonic and all these things, and I'm like, what? Like I hear God the clearest sometimes doing yoga, and I think that the first thing that we should acknowledge there is yoga is not a religion. So in yoga, there isn't a call to subscribe to any specific type of God. There is a calling to subscribe to some type of higher being, but there's no call out to say it's God or it's Buddha or it's any Hindu gods or anything like that. So yoga itself is not a religion. Um,
Mhm.
it's a discipline. It's a spiritual discipline. So even think of things like prayer or fasting, right? Those are spiritual disciplines that many different types of religion use. So we
Mhm.
can't say that praying is just for Christianity. Like that's craziness, right? That's not right. So spiritual discipline that is used in other type of religion. So I think what a lot of people see is they see when some people talk about yoga, or they feel like it comes from the Hindu faith. And it's actually quite the opposite. So yoga was first, and the Hindu faith uses yoga in their religion, and we see it a lot because they use it a lot primarily in their religion. But yoga itself is not a religion. So as I stated earlier, yoga is your breath, it's your movement, and it's your meditation. And there's no one religion that owns the way I breathe and how I move and how I focus.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then what would you say to people? Okay, well then it still clashes in a way, because when I read a spiritual text, or I read like yogic myths, as we speak in myths and legends, these things speak about gods, and they speak about people that we should honor. It still clashes with the things that I believe in my day-to-day life. How do I practice yoga?
That's good. That's really good. First thing that I would say is if it is like convicting to you, like if you feel in your spirit that it's not right, you stop. Like, don't do it. Like, we all have different levels of convictions. I would also say, though, find a yoga class or a yoga studio feel is safe for you. So I test out yoga. When I first started, I was testing out yoga studios. If I walked into a yoga studio and I saw that they had statues of Hindu gods or a painting of Buddha or something, I know that I'm not going to practice there.
Okay.
It's and or if there's a specific teacher that does like chanting, I just won't go to their class. You know, so first it's if you have a conviction in your spirit, like follow that conviction. But no, there are alternatives, and there's so many options there. So don't, like, if you do it one time and like it scares you because you're like, oh no, that's not God, whatever religion it is that you subscribe to, like, know that there are other types of options there.
Exactly. And even though, say for example, you don't live to a yoga studio, don't live nearby a yoga studio that doesn't offer you another option, or they do have Buddha statues there, could you just focus on the physical practice maybe?
You absolutely could. So a lot of people, like, their beliefs are that these postures are worshiping Hindu gods. And I tell people, like, true, authentic worship is more than just the physical postures. That's a matter of the heart. Right? So when we think about the physical aspects of worship, like, we think about lifting our hands in praise, or like the physical movement, right? Well, if I just lift my hands up anytime, that doesn't mean I'm praising God, right? Or we like bowing down. Well, if I bow down to tie my shoe, I'm not saying, I'm not worshiping anybody. So it's where is your heart? What is your intention? Right? So worship is a matter of the heart. So for me, when I am practicing yoga, first I set, an intention, and I'm focusing whatever my intention is. Like, maybe it's a scripture, or maybe it's a promise of God or something like that. That's where my focus is. And if I'm in, say, warrior 1 or warrior 2, or warrior 1, 2 is your hands are out, but warrior 1, and I lift my hands, I'm worshiping God. And that's where our, right? So we can't just say, oh, you put your body this way and now you're honoring a Hindu god. Well, when you work out, sometimes you're doing those same things. So can you see you're worshiping, the gods there as well? So I really believe in checking your heart. Like, where is your heart? Because that's where you're worshiping.
Exactly. So like you said, it's actually just really, really, really personal. You have to decide for yourself, or maybe just go on that self-exploration and find what works for you, what you want to believe or not, and from what place, what intention you want to practice.
Yeah.
Then we wrote a statement, and I would like to get your opinion on this. I just need to move quickly so I can read it out properly. And then some say that yoga doesn't require you to believe in anything specifically. Some say that yoga has nothing to do with religion, that it is a science. Some do not see yoga outside its beliefs or spiritual experience, and say the opposite. Asking how you could do Asking how yoga could be experienced at all without its original and historical spiritual aspects.
I will say this. There are plenty of people that do yoga just for the physical.
Mm-hmm.
Are very interested in the spiritual side. Yoga is going to work regardless of if you're interested in it or not.
Mm-hmm.
So you come in to do the physical, you better believe some point in your journey, you're going to get the mental and the spiritual side of it. You're going to feel more relaxed or have more clarity or tap into whatever higher being you subscribe to or not. There's going to be a sense of some type of enlightenment for you, and like it works. All aspects of yoga works, whether that's what you came in for or not. So when I first started practicing yoga, I didn't practice it from a Christian standpoint. It was self-care for me. I was like, I need to relax. So I'm gonna try yoga.
Mm-hmm.
And God met me there, you know, and then I was like, goodness, you know, so but it may not be your intention, but know that when you combine your breath and synchronize that with your movement and your meditation focus, there are things happening in the background that could possibly change your life. And like honestly, it's things like regulating my anxiety. You know, like the first thing I learned in yoga was how to breathe. And I know that sounds crazy because we do it every day, but how to breathe in a way that it triggers my brain to slow down. Right? Those are those that you don't necessarily go into yoga thinking that's gonna. I'm thinking I'm going to yoga because I want to be more flexible and I want to do this, but there are different aspects of yoga that just start working beyond the physical, whether that's what you came for or not. All right. So you definitely can just practice the physical aspects, but I would encourage you and challenge you to be open to whatever happens. And know that
Exactly.
meditation, like meditation is your.
Absolutely.
So I would definitely challenge you to be open to whatever comes, whatever revelation that you receive on your mat outside of.
And I think has to do with something that we said about the breathing exercises as well. It's all about being open to those new experiences and just open to receive. Because if you do practice yoga and you keep showing up on your mat or to the studio, maybe it's for community, maybe it's because it makes you feel good, but there is a reason that you're there.
Yeah.
And just stay curious about it. Amazing. Now, you wrote an amazing blog about this as well. Would you like to tell people where we can find this?
Absolutely. So if you go to sacredspaceyogahtx.com, you can find it there. The easiest way actually is on my social media. So my Instagram is Sacred Spaces Yoga, and you can find the link in my bio. The name of it is Jesus in Yoga Flow is Magnificent. And I talk specifically about, you know, how to respond when people tell you that you can't practice yoga as a Christian or as a believer. And in that, I talk about, you know, what does worship mean? What are yoga roots? And how do you respond to those things when we start looking at the Bible and the Word of God? You know, how you can find information in there regarding not necessarily yoga, but in the way that you honor God with your body and honor God in everything that you do. So I give 4 tips to help you advocate for Christian yoga. But it means that you can definitely look at this if you subscribe to any other type of religion as well.
Exactly. I really, really recommend it, guys. It's super interesting. Even if you're not religious, it's just really good education and read yourself into what things are going on in the yoga world. So, well, where else can we find you? You said you've got this on your website. On Instagram, you're active.
Yeah, so Instagram is probably where I am most active. And that space is yoga, and there you can find different blogs or things that I'm featured on, and also just me in life. I randomly get on my mat, I may record it and talk about why and things of that nature. So yeah, Instagram is probably the best way to reach me right now.
Amazing. Thank you. We will tag you in the description so people can find you easily.
Awesome.
Yes, thank you so much for your time. I really enjoyed it. I think it'll be very useful for many people around us.
Yes. I'm so honored and just so excited to really be able to talk about this. Yoga, God has used yoga so many different ways in my life, and I just want to share it with the world, because I really think that from a Christian standpoint, it's a lot of us that shy away from the practice of yoga, and it's really because of just misinterpretation or lack of knowledge. So that's where I want to start first. Is like, let's have the conversation. Let's talk about what we think yoga is, and talk about not, so that your mind can be open to receive this practice, because God has really used it to transform my life.
Exactly. We can keep going for hours. Amazing. Thank you so much. I really hope that we'll get a lot more listeners to it. And we're going to post it as a podcast as well. So you will be seeing it everywhere, everywhere you go. And hopefully we can connect one more time, maybe later on in the year, and see where you're at.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed.
Thank you. Thank you so much, and thank you everyone for joining. If you haven't been able to watch the whole chat, we will post it in the stories and onto Instagram TV, and post it later on in the week on the podcast as well. Have a great weekend and see you all later. Thank you so much, Queen. Goodbye. You listen to Your Yoga in English, brought to you by Enga Unite, a unique online learning platform for non-native English-speaking yogis and yoga teachers. If you feel inspired and liked what you learned today, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and follow us at Enga Unite, and become a member of our online community, Your Yoga in English, on Facebook. Practice, rest, repeat, and all will come.